This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. Let's have some fun. It's a new hour of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo right here on VSiN, the sports betting network. We've got a locked and loaded Friday ahead to dive into. I've got some best bets on the diamond that we'll get into as the hour progresses. We've got some great guests coming up just about 15 minutes from now. We're going to break down some UFL best bets for the weekend with our guy Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, as well as some college football futures that Colby thinks there's value if you get in on right now instead of waiting for the summer months to roll around. We've got loads of NBA playoff action this weekend. All four teams will be in action, all four games, I should say, over the next 48 hours. Couple of teams going home in pretty position, up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference. Indiana, Friday. My Knicks, Saturday. In the Western Conference, a couple of series are split. And the road teams favored by 5, Game 3 in each of those. We also had big news Thursday in the gambling world coming out of the Vatican. We've got a new pope, ladies and gentlemen. And how about two bettors in that market cashing out over 50 grand on the pope? This was considered a long shot as Robert, I want to make sure I get the name right, Prevost out of Chicago, first American pope ever, came in as a long shot, and now will head to the Vatican to assume his duty. What's the significance there? He's a Villanova alum. If that doesn't make you run to the counter and bet the New York Knicks 13-1 to win the NBA title this year, I don't know what could possibly make you place that wager. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, they've got the Pope on their side. They're the chosen team, the New York Knicks. You gotta take a flyer on them 13-1. I actually, just for good old S's and G's, put in on the Circa Sports app, I called it the Papal Parlay. Knicks, Mets. Now, you might wonder why Mets, the guys from Chicago. Well, when they shot to the crowd as the new Pope came out, outside of St. Peter's Basilica, there was a guy wearing a Mets hat there. So I went Knicks, Mets, because the Pope is a White Sox fan, and let's face it, even God can't help the Chicago White Sox. And then for the third and final leg, I went with the Chicago Bears. That championship parlay, Knicks, Mets, Bears, coming in at 2,000-1 odds. If you want to get in on what I'm calling the Papal Parlay, $1 would win 2,000 if those three teams all win their respective championships. Let's get to the actual games at hand, though. Pacers, Cavs, NBA playoffs, Game 3, Friday. I'm hearing a lot of people say that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to take Game 3. I'm hearing people say Cleveland Game 3, Indiana Game 4, and then they go back to the Cavs arena with the Pacers up 3-1 going into Game 5. I agree that this is going to go to a Game 5 in Cleveland. I just think all the people I'm hearing say that have the order wrong. I think Indiana is taking Game 3. And right now I'm looking at the Pacers, and they're plus 120, plus 125 on the money line. I'm thinking you leave those 2.5 points by the wayside, and you take Indiana money line in this game. I really have a strong feeling about the Pacers winning Game 3, not Game 4. I think Cleveland will take Game 4, maybe even Game 5 too. So here's the deal. Cavs missed 3 huge pieces. Game 2. Darius Garland, who's been out for quite some time now. DeAndre Hunter and Evan Mobley both missed Game 2 as well. Now, Cleveland was up the majority of the game. They were up big. They were up 7 points with 40 seconds left. Everything had to go right for Cleveland without those players to hold that lead. Donovan Mitchell had 48 points. Sam Merrill and Max Strus both had big shooting nights from beyond the arc. Jarrett Allen, who seldom turns in a 20-point performance, gave him 22 and 12 in Mobley's absence. A lot went right for Cleveland, and they still, when all was said and done, couldn't finish. Now they're going on the road, hostile environment, against a team that's got the fourth best record in the NBA since January 1st, against a team that won 29 out of 40 games on its home court this season. And I just don't think the Cavs are ready for what Indiana's going to throw at them. Indiana's healthier. They're just as deep. They've got just as versatile of a backcourt. If Nembhard isn't hitting his shots, Mathurin could sub in. McConnell could sub in. I mean, Indiana's guards are so deep, and it just feels like it's a different guy every night. Nesmith, Nembhard, Mathurin, McConnell, a different guy every night stepping up for the Pacers and pouring in buckets, right? And I didn't even mention their best guard. You can argue maybe their best player. I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to have a huge Game 3 at home on Friday. I think Tyrese Halliburton's going to go over 18.5 points. I think he's going to have a monster showing coming off the momentum of hitting what I called the cross-up, cash-out, game-winning, top-of-the-key 3 in overtime on Tuesday night. I think Tyrese Halliburton's going to lead the way. Spicy P, who, frankly, he had a big bucket off an offensive rebound late. Spicy P, before that, had a non-existent Game 2. Pascal Siakam, I think he's going to show up and show out Game 3. I am all over Indiana in this Game 3 at home on the money line. Even if Garland and Mobley and Hunter are all a go, all three of them, which I think is unlikely. I think 2 out of the 3 play. But even if all 3 are a go, how effective will they be? How impactful will they be? I think the answer is not very. Give me Indiana, Game 3. I'm probably going to turn around and like Cleveland Game 4 if they find themselves down 3-0, although who knows? Maybe the Pacers are thirsty for blood. Maybe they want to make a statement and go for the sweep because, hey, 3-0, if you lose Game 4, then go back to Cleveland for Game 5, that can quickly turn into a 3-2 heading back to Indianapolis for Game 6. But Game 3, Friday, I'm on the Pacers. I'm on the Thunder, -5 in Denver. I just think OKC's youth, OKC's guards, I'm not worried about the altitude coming into play with this team. I think the Thunder are going to dictate the pace, that they're going to run the court like they did in Game 2. Not to that extent of a damn near 50-point win, but I think Oklahoma City's legs are just too young, too fresh, too talented for this Denver backcourt. Look, Denver's got Nikola Jokic, obviously. Can they slow down the pace? Can they run a half-court offense? Can they let Jokic dominate? Holmgren, Hartenstein, whoever he's up against. By the way, I think Isaiah Hartenstein's a pretty formidable foe for Jokic. It's just a matter of minutes. Jokic can give him 45 minutes. Hartenstein rarely exceeds 32 or so. And if you have to put Holmgren on the Joker, well, good luck. He could snap him like a twig. So this is all about guard play, this series for me. And Oklahoma City is just so deep. I mean, they could run 9-10 guys out there in a meaningful game. I'm not talking mop-up minutes. I'm talking meaningful minutes, right? SGA, both Jalen Williamses, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso to give the young guys a break and go play some tough defense. This Oklahoma City team, this Oklahoma City backcourt is just damn near unstoppable. And I think ultimately the reason Oklahoma City, I believe, will be your champs when this is all said and done. Well, I'm not counting out the Knicks. They've got the Pope behind them, 13-1. But the reason why I truly believe Oklahoma City will be your champs is because they've just got so much depth that I don't see any other team matching. I mean, maybe Indiana and Cleveland, they've got, the best depth in the East. I think more meaningful depth than Boston or than my Knicks. But Oklahoma City, these guys are just so good. So many two-way players. They are loaded with two-way guards that, one guy gets a break, the next guy comes in, and you're just getting 100% on each side of the ball from the Thunder. So, look, do I think it's going to be another 40-plus point slaughter? Absolutely not. Could I see the Thunder winning this one by 10-15? Yeah. I think it's more likely Oklahoma City wins by double digits than Denver wins this one outright. So I'm laying the 5 with Oklahoma City on Friday night. Folks, if you're looking for the best odds this baseball season and hoops, NBA playoffs, shoot, the Pacers are plus $1.40 with our friends over at ProfitX. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in over 40 states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You'll be able to make your picks against other groups of fans rather than against the books. The exchanges guarantee you the best odds on average by 10 to 20%, and you can even request your own odds. So download ProfitX today. Use the code VSIN, and you'll earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. It's my favorite way, my preferred method of betting when I'm back home in sunny Southern California. I absolutely love the odds over at ProfitX. Indiana right now, Pacers, Game 3 money line, plus $1.40. My best bet on the Diamond Friday night, the LA Dodgers. You look at every shop in town, they're about minus 130. ProfitX, last exchange, had the Dodgers money line minus 115 in Arizona Friday night. I love that. Roki Sasaki on the bump, opposite Eduardo Rodriguez. Sasaki is not allowed more than 3 earned in any start, and after some rocky starts and maybe a few tears as well to start the season, he has really settled in nicely his last few outings. Erod, on the other hand, current Dodgers hitters own him. A .330 batting average collectively in 80 at-bats. Even the lefties, Freeman, Ohtani, Conforto, a combined 11 for 28 against Eduardo Rodriguez. Look, I love the Dodgers Friday night. Coming off the Game 1 loss at Chase Field. And over at ProfitX, you can get a minus 115. That was the last exchange. Where are you going to get a better price than that? Dodgers money line, best bet Friday night. Up next, our friend Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. You don't want to miss it. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you into your weekend, getting you ready, especially our friends over on the East Coast, for your Friday morning here as we look ahead to tons of action, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, a loaded day on the diamond, and we've got some UFL football this weekend, maybe even some college futures to get to as well. Who better to break them all down with than our friend from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, a man so dedicated to the program that he is joining us right now on an international feed, our friend Colby Dant, live on the Progressive Guest Line. Colby, how the hell are you, my man?
I'm doing great, man. I look, are you kidding me? I'm down here in Colombia shooting off AK-47s, having a good time, and of course I had to put it down to talk to you, man, to talk a little sports.
I love it. I didn't want to divulge your location, but since you did it, he is not in the home of the South Carolina Gamecocks, ladies and gentlemen. He is in the real Colombia. Colby, speaking of the Gamecocks, you did come prepared with some college football futures that you like, a couple long shots, maybe some value plays that are going to be better to get in now than wait till July or August on. What do you like over in the ACC, my man?
Yeah, and this is something I feel like as you've seen these college football conferences get larger and larger, you're kind of looking for the right schedule more so than you're looking for the best teams. So 2 years ago, I had Louisville to win the ACC. They ended up in the ACC championship game. Good hedging opportunity. Last year, Syracuse was just outside of it, and I think it's worth taking a shot on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They had an incredibly tough schedule a year ago, one of the tougher, I thought, in all of the nation, and they lost a lot of games close. I mean, remember that Georgia game at Georgia? They lose in overtime and a bunch of overtimes.
Rivalry week was crazy last year.
Yeah, and the Syracuse game at Syracuse, and they had quarterback injuries. Haynes King got dinged up for 4 or 5 games, I feel like, and he's back. A lot of the offense is back. Yes, they lost their top wideout to Auburn, but I'm not panicking at that. I think the fact that you pull up the schedule, and Brent Key is another thing. Like, this is year 3 of him fully at the helm as the head coach, but I like the conference schedule with road games at Wake Forest, which doesn't have much of a home crowd. At Duke, which, they lost a lot from a year ago, another year removed away from Elko's team. At NC State and at Boston College. To me, not the toughest road schedule. You avoid playing at Clemson, at Florida State, at Miami. So even at Virginia Tech, which is known to be a great environment. So I think it's worth taking a shot there on Georgia Tech to win the ACC with what the returning production and a step forward from Brent Key.
I like it, Colby. They finished strong a year ago. I mean, look, if Miami couldn't get to the conference championship with Cam Ward, I'm not putting them there with Carson Beck, who I think is maybe a bigger downgrade than most people would say at the quarterback position for the Canes going into this season. I think it's Clemson. I think that is a foregone conclusion, assuming that they stay healthy. And it's a wide open spot. I like the GT play, 10-1. You might expect Georgia Tech to be a longer shot than 10-1. I think that's going to shorten up between now and August. I am curious your thoughts on the team that was right beneath them, though, at 25-1. Bill Belichick's UNC Tar Heels. I mean, that win total was 6.5 originally when the hire was made, then got up to 7.5. That's where it sits right now. All the stuff with his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, who's younger than me. I mean, man, what do you think about North Carolina? Bill does not seem locked in.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. The schedule is great. The ACC did a great job schedule-wise for the Tar Heels. Now, the problem is personnel. They got players hitting the portal left and right. I know they have a bunch of money bringing in some talent, but how fast can it click? And to me, the thing I'm very weary on is NFL coaches coming down to college football. I would say in my lifetime, you don't have many that were very successful. Pete Carroll is kind of the only one that stands out to me as successful. For every one of those, there's Herm Edwards, Lovie Smith, you can go on and on and on. So that's the big thing is it's a lot different than the NFL. You see lots of variations of offenses and defenses every single week, where the NFL is kind of more of a copycat league. So I might take them on the win total over just because the schedule is so nice, but I don't think they're a legit contender in the ACC this year.
Yeah, I'm just worried for Bill's well-being, frankly. I'm ready to yell, Bill, blink twice if you need help, man. If you need someone to come in there and save you at this point. No high heels on the practice field, please. That's very uncharacteristic of a Bill Belichick football team. Colby, what about the Big 12? There's a value play here you like, even a little bit of a longer shot than Georgia Tech. What are you eyeing there?
Yeah, and I'm kind of shocked the odds are what they are. Iowa State, who played in the Big 12 championship game a year ago, I think, maybe they did lose some talent, but they kind of bring back the core of the team. Rocco Beck, the son of Anthony Beck, the former Jets tight end. And Matt Campbell's got a knack for winning these close games. He's done it so long that I feel like you have to respect it now of saying, okay, well, they played in a lot of close games, but can they sustain that year after year? Well, he's done it so many times that I think it's worth taking a shot there. And then when you dive into the schedule, like I said, in these 16, 17, 18-team conferences, that's kind of what you're looking for. They open up week 0 against Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland, of all places. So that's a rivalry game. I have no idea which direction that'll go, but it wouldn't shock me if they won that one. But I actually think that kind of helps their season, getting a conference game that early, the way it spaces out. They get 3 bye weeks later. And then you look at the road trips in conference at Cincinnati. They're probably the worst team coming into the season in the Big 12. At Colorado, major reload going on there. You catch them in early October. At TCU, okay, I am high on TCU. That's a tough game. And then at Oklahoma State, who knows what they're going to be looking like. Mike Gundy might not even be coaching that game in the season finale. So it's a really nice schedule. You got home games against Arizona, BYU, and Kansas. So I just think it's the schedule aligns. And I love the 3 bye weeks for Matt Campbell, a guy that I feel like gets his team so prepared with the week prep. So Iowa State, Rocco Beck. They lost some wideouts. You saw him get drafted in the NFL. But going out and getting Sol, the kid from East Carolina, who was previously at Colorado with Coach Prime and company. So I think they did a good job in the portal adding some talent, and I think they're going to be as tough as any team in the Big 12.
Yeah, that conference is wide open. I mean, they're for the taking. The fact that the shortest shots, Kansas State and Arizona State, are currently nearly 5-1 just shows you that even the odds makers don't know what the hell to make of the Big 12 going into this coming season. Colby, how about some UFL best bets? A little more immediate gratification here. The upcoming weekend slate. One game on Friday, DC, San Antonio. The Defenders laying 7.5 as road favorites. Would you lay it with them on the road?
I would, and mainly because San Antonio has scored 3 points the past 2 weeks. Wade Phillips, the legendary defensive coordinator, the son of Bum Phillips, has had some health issues, and they brought in interim head coach Peyton Pardee, And ever since his first game, he got the 1-game bump, but after that, that offense has been stagnant. Defense is the worst in the league, and DC lost to them in the first matchup. It's a revenge game, and DC is one of the teams that actually could win the championship in this league. So I expect DC to put it on there. I like the over as well in that game.
37.5 your total there in San Antonio. How about your lock of the week winner from last week? The Michigan Panthers. They're laying 3 at Arlington. Total's 42.5. What are you looking for there?
I think the biggest lock here is the under 42.5. But I picking the game, I'll take Michigan as well. As long as I know Bryce Perkins is playing the majority of the game, I think he's an NFL caliber quarterback. Now, obviously not a starter, but I think second string, third string, he's that solid of a quarterback, which is a huge leg up in this league. So I'll lay the 3 there. I know it seems a bit chalky. I feel like a lot of people are on it. But I think they're just a much better team. But the real thing I like is the under. Arlington's offense has been terrible ever since week 2. And then Michigan's defense is legit. And Arlington's defense is one of the top-ranked defenses. So play the under. I think that's the best play you can do in that game.
I'll tell you what, Colby, we were joking about it off air before the segment began, how Michigan was your mortal lock last week, and you asked me if I tailed it, and I said I've never bet a UFL game in my life. If you're telling me you love the under 42.5, I think I'll follow you on this one, man. I'll make this my first ever UFL bet. I'll go Michigan-Arlington under 42.5 on your advice. How about Sunday? We've got 2 games. Couple of 4.5-point numbers. Houston catching 4.5 at Birmingham. St. Louis laying 4.5 at Memphis. What's your favorite bet final minute here for Sunday?
Memphis money line. St. Louis won last week with Max Duggan. They only had 172 yards of offense. They really struggled. They go on the road to Memphis, away from that dome where there is actually fans in that stadium compared to the other ones. And their slogan for the league is "Where crossroads meet opportunity." That's what you're doing here, buddy. Where crossroads meet your first UFL bet. Let's go.
I love it. By the way, did you see that video of Duggan throwing the ball last week? How freaking long it takes him to get rid of. I mean, dude, come on. This guy was a Heisman finalist. He rears that thing back. I've never seen anything like that. No wonder he's not in the NFL. That was a crazy video. Colby, my man, you're the best. Appreciate the time. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Anytime. Always a pleasure.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at @TheColbyD, our friend Colby Dant from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. A lot of NBA playoffs coming up this weekend. We're going to dive deeper into it. Up next, it's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Thursday night right into your Friday morning, especially for our friends over on the East Coast as we get your weekend started the right way, the only way, the best way possible. A lot of NBA playoff action coming up this weekend. Couple of Friday night games, Cleveland, Indiana, OKC, Denver. Saturday, bright and early here on the West Coast. Start the day drinking just after noon. Celtics, Knicks, I can't wait. Then Wolves, Warriors, Game 3. Let's break it all down with our friend from over at RotoWire, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line, Kieran Sprecher with us. Kieran, how are you, my friend? How have you been enjoying the second round thus far? The onslaught that the road teams have just been taking it to the home teams for the most part, man. How's it been?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely entertaining from a fan perspective. You know, the gambling aspect of it, it's trying to get your head wrapped around what is happening and what is real and what, is going to continue over these next couple of games and what was, maybe just a flash in the pan. It's tough to get your head around, but from a fan perspective, these games have been everything we wanted and more. And it's only the second round. There's tons of games left.
Yeah, you talk about it from a gambling perspective. I mean, I've seen a lot of people the past few days say, oh, it's a lock. If you just take whatever bet you like, parlay it with the Celtics money line, you're going to get better odds. And then I've seen some really ugly bet slips coming out as a result of the favorites really struggling so far here in round 2. Cleveland, Indiana, the first game Friday. Cavs laying 2.5. Seems like half the roster's questionable for this one. Indiana on the money line would be plus $1.20. Kieran, I think that's the direction I'm going in. A lot of people say this is the game that the Cavs are going to get. I look at an Indiana team going home. I think the crowd's going to be absolutely raucous. I lean Pacers in this spot. What say you? Do you think this is the one that Cleveland gets?
Yep, I'm right there with you, Joe. Like you said, Indiana's home court advantage is huge. They were 29-11 during the regular season. Those 11 losses were the second few court losses in the Eastern Conference. So Indiana is a different beast at home, and they've already shown what they can do on the road and winning 2 games in Cleveland. From a fan perspective, I'd love this series to be 2-1. I just don't see that happening. I thought the Cavs actually played pretty well given how shorthanded they were in game 2, and it still didn't matter. This Pacers offense is just too lethal, and they aren't even really playing perfectly. They've lost the Pacers, that is, have lost the turnover battle in both games, but they've shot 50% from the field and 40% from deep in each game. And I just don't see how Cleveland can slow that down. You talked about the injuries. Garland, Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, even if those guys get ruled available for game 3, how effective are they going to be? How many minutes are they going to be able to play? The issue with Garland was his big toe, and he can't like cut off of that. For a shifty guard, like being able to cut and cross over and make those sharp movements is pretty imperative. So even if he gets cleared to play, I just don't know how effective these guys are going to be. And I've given Cleveland their flowers all season, right? This was a fantastic season for the Cavaliers, and it just sucks that injuries have to happen. But I'm jumping ship on the Cavs train. I think, Indiana is battle tested after their deep playoff run last year, and they were just kind of waiting in the weeds this season, kind of going under the radar. The Knicks had a big season, the Pistons had their surprise season, and the Pacers were just kind of there all season. And then the postseason starts, and you're seeing how absolutely fantastic they were. And I know the Bucks, they lost Dame and whatever, but they dismantled Giannis and the Bucks. That was a masterclass, and they're doing the same thing to the Cavaliers here. I think the Pacers are arguably playing the best ball in the Eastern Conference right now. They're still, the fourth best, had the fourth worst odds to win the Eastern Conference. So that might be something. I'm not saying bet on the Pacers to win it all, but I think they're the hottest team, and I don't see that slowing down, even if it's some reinforcements for game 3.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you might have some hedge opportunities. They're up 2-0 here, and they're going home. I mean, it feels like they're going to get out of this series. It certainly does. Any props that stand out to you in this game? I'm looking at Tyrese Halliburton at 18.5 points, and I'm debating playing with the over in that one. Does anything stand out to you on the prop board?
Yeah, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton has been stealing, the headlines, obviously, with that game winner in game 3, but this has just been a well-rounded effort for the Pacers. 6 or 7 guys in double figures in each of these games, and going back to the Bucks series, it's the same story. Andrew Nembhard has been my focus. RotoWire, we do a lot of fantasy stuff. He's never been a stud in fantasy, right? He's never going to be a superstar caliber player, a max contract player. But for whatever reason, Andrew Nembhard absolutely goes off in the playoffs. I've seen some, ridiculous, like he's top 5 in 3-point percentage in playoff history. Obviously, he's only played in a handful, dozen games or so. So those stats are a bit inflated. But this guy is stepping up. I like Nembhard's 3-point props for game 3. He also has been getting a lot of assists too. So if maybe a little parlay of threes and assists for Andrew Nembhard.
I love it. Nembhard terrorized my Knicks last year in the second round of the playoffs. So he has, despite it being a young career, he has proven that thus far he's a good postseason performer. How about the nightcap? OKC Denver, as they shift and go into the Mile High City. The Thunder laying about 4.5 to 5 on the road, depending on where you shop. Are you laying that number with OKC? Do you think Denver finds themselves in a get-right bounce-back spot here? What do you like in terms of the side and potentially some props in this one?
Yeah, I like OKC taking control of this series and covering this 4.5-point spread. I think they're going to win this one by double digits. The big in this series so far through 2 games for me has been Nikola Jokic's foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in game 1. He finished game 1 with 5 fouls. He picked that 5th one up like halfway through the 4th quarter. And then there was a lot of, Jokic battling down low, and he probably could have picked up his 6th foul, kind of got away with a couple. And he ended up finishing that game. Obviously, the Nuggets had that incredible comeback, largely due to Jokic's production early. But it wasn't the same story in game 2. Jokic picked up that 6th foul early in that fourth quarter, and it was white flags for Denver. So Jokic's foul trouble is super concerning here. Obviously, the plus minus numbers for Denver when Jokic is not on the court are astronomical. So he needs to stay out of foul trouble, but that's going to be a tough business going up against this OKC team. And then Jokic just hasn't really gotten a lot of help, or he didn't get a lot of help in game 2. Westbrook has been fantastic in both of the games. This is his second straight revenge series, right? Obviously, there's not so much ill will with Russ and OKC. Obviously, he had his incredible career for OKC, but there was a lot of more ill will in that Clippers series. Obviously, Russ is coming home playing OKC. There's a lot of energy there. He's been fantastic. But Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon were not good in game 2. They're going to need to be better for Denver to have a chance here. OKC just has too many options. They're battle tested. They have a war chest. It feels like they can go 11, 12 deep if they want, even in a playoff series. And the level of play just doesn't drop no matter who's out there. And then SGA is just unstoppable, or he was unstoppable in game 2. And Chet is the X factor. I think, Jokic keeps them close, maybe tease a little Denver first half line. And then I think OKC is going to win this by double digits with a big fourth quarter run for sure. They're just too good, and Denver. I wasn't, Denver and Memphis and these coaches getting fired was super concerning to me. Jokic is just taking over as coach, and it hasn't really, been an issue, but eventually that's going to catch up with Denver. And going up against a well-coached team like OKC, I think this is where the line ends for Denver.
Kieran, I'm with you, my man. So far, we're in pretty good lockstep. We both like the Pacers to win. OKC minus the 5. Got about a minute left. Celtics-Knicks, Game 3, Saturday, bright and early for us here on the West Coast. Boston also favored by 5 on the road. What do you like there? Final minute.
Yeah, I know I hate to do this to your Knicks. The shooting struggles have been obvious for Boston, but the stats would tell you that the pendulum's going to swing back in Boston's favor eventually. I like Boston covering 5 here and getting back in this series. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby guarding Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown has been awesome, and I think that the first 2 games are repeatable, but doing that 3 times in a row is really hard. These are all NBA caliber players. I think Brown get hot and finally get on the board here in this second round series.
Well, hey, a little disagreement's healthy and no one's perfect, so it's all right that you're only going to go 2 out of 3. Kieran, really appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. Anytime.
Our friend Kieran Sprecher, make sure you check out his terrific work over at RotoWire. Of course, just like the 2 terrific hosts of Prop Points here on the network, Nick Whalen and Jeff Erickson, doing great work over there at RotoWire. Folks, smarter bets start right here, and they last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we are slashing the price of our annual subscription, normally $240. Now, just $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in 2 extra months for free. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use the promo code PRO. Get 14 months of access to our daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, exclusive splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video, and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app. Plus, you'll also get all of our special edition betting guides. Just head to VSiN.com/subscribe now. Use the promo code PRO, and you can lock in 14 months of VSiN Pro for just $1.99. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Terrific stuff there from our friend Kieran Sprecher at RotoWire. We're both on Indiana, it looks like. Moneyline, Game 3 as they head home against Cleveland. More picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with myself, Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready for your weekend, taking you into your Friday morning here on the program. What a finish we had down the road at T-Mobile. The Edmonton Oilers, the overtime winner against your Las Vegas Golden Knights. 5-4 Oilers. The ebbs and flows of that game were truly remarkable. 1-0. The Knights led it after the first period. Edmonton answers with 3 consecutive goals. Vegas gets one back. It's 3-2 going into the third. The Oilers, less than 2 minutes into the third period, make it 4-2. And the Knights, back-to-back unanswered goals, tie it up, send it to overtime. All the momentum in Las Vegas's favor. They were slight favorites, minus 125 on the money line going into OT. Edmonton was minus 105. And then in overtime, a 5-minute major that the Oilers get, and that's not how they won it. The Knights were absolutely sensational on the PK, killed all 5 minutes, only for a 2-on-1 situation. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to have the advantage, and Draisaitl ultimately burying the game-winning goal. The Edmonton Oilers, ladies and gentlemen, up 2-0, going home. They have won 6 straight since they found themselves down 2-0 in Los Angeles against the Kings. Edmonton's won 6 straight, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. I liked them going into this series, now up 2-0 going home. I love the Oilers in this series. I think it's going to be in Edmonton. Obviously, winner of Dallas-Winnipeg conference final. Dallas seems to have the momentum. They were favorites to begin with. Winnipeg has Hellbuck. If he can figure it out and keep the Jets alive, I mean, look, that series just one game deep. I'm not going to say anything's over there yet. I do think the Jets will equalize it at home, tie it up at 1 apiece going back to Dallas. But I think the Edmonton Oilers with the clear path right now to the conference finals. We've got action Friday. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. So let's dive right in. We are starting in Indianapolis. We've got a Game 3, Pacers-Cavs. Indiana is up 2-0 on the series and going home. And unlike what seems to be the majority of people who think that this is the game Cleveland takes in Indianapolis, I don't. I think Indiana money line is the move. You can get them right now, plus $1.40, the best price on the market I'm seeing. The spread was hanging out around 2.5. Now it's up to 3 at some spots, including right here at Circa. Best money line price I found on Indiana, plus 140, and I'm taking it. Not the 3 points, the money line. I love the way that the Pacers combat Cleveland. I love the way they match up in the backcourt, on the bench, right? Cleveland's strength all year has been their depth, having DeAndre Hunter, a 6th Man of the Year finalist, and then Ty Jerome, as good a 7th man as you can ask for. Well, Indiana, the guards just never stop, right? Obviously, you have Halliburton leading the way, and then you've got, name your combination of Nembhard, Nesmith, Mathurin, McConnell. I mean, the Pacers have 5 guards, not 5 players, 5 guards who can give you 15 plus on any given night. And then throw in Miles Turner and Spicy P, who showed up in overtime, or showed up down the stretch rather, but was relatively quiet for most of game 2. I think Siakam and Halliburton are both poised for big ones. I love Halliburton in this contest. I'm eyeing that over 18.5 points potentially as well. Give me Indiana money line plus $1.40. In the nightcap OKC, I'm gonna, instead of laying 5 points at minus 110, I'm going to lay 5.5 at even money with OKC. That's the available price over with our friends at ProfitX, and that's what I'm going to take on the Thunder. Now, look, am I overreacting to their near 50-point Game 2 win? Absolutely not. But I think it's more likely that the Thunder win this one by double digits than Denver wins it outright. I think Oklahoma City's youth, their legs, their two-way players in the backcourt and around the perimeter are just too much for the Nuggets to overcome. And I don't think Jokic trading twos with Oklahoma City's guards from the outside is enough to single-handedly beat them. You look at the backcourts, there's no contest. Oklahoma City's better. Oklahoma City's deeper. Oklahoma City plays tougher defense, not just the starters, but, you know, Jalen Williams coming off the bench, Alex Caruso coming off the bench. This Oklahoma City team is an absolute juggernaut, and I think that they were really pissed off dropping game 1. They're not going to make those mistakes throughout this series. I'll lay 5 and a hook at even money with OKC. How about we take it to the Diamond? I've got 3 best bets on the Diamond, and one of them, I'm breaking one of my rules. I don't like to go run lines with home teams, but I'm looking at a Detroit Tigers team. That's a $2.70 favorite. And Tarek Skubal, the reigning Cy Young winner, is on the bump. Detroit just swept the Rockies, won a decisive doubleheader. Could that mean that their bats are tired maybe? Playing 2 games in Coors Field, now having to fly back home to Detroit? It's possible. The Rangers actually had an easier travel day coming from Fenway to Detroit. But you got Skubal on the bump, opposite Patrick Corbin. And Patrick Corbin's been really freaking good this year after 5 straight terrible seasons. But he's no Tarek Skubal. And the Tigers run line right now, you can get minus 105, best price. For a team that's minus 270 on the money line, I could see them winning this game 5-1, 6-2. The problem isn't Corbin necessarily, and by the way, Detroit mashes against lefties. The problem is that the Texas Rangers don't hit. That they've got just about the worst offense in the American League. They just fired their so-called offensive coordinator. I know now we're using football terminology and MLB coaching staffs. But the Texas Rangers simply cannot hit. And I think this is a game for Detroit to win and win in a big way. The pitching matchups get pretty juicy as the weekend progresses. The Rangers are running out DeGrom Saturday and Eovaldi Sunday. So I think Friday night is your best spot to take Detroit, and not just to take them, but to take them run line, minus 1.5 at minus 105. Now, here's a home team. I'm not going to go run line. For this team, I'm going to go no bat bottom 9, the Houston Astros. I just can't find a Hunter Brown prop that I love. Under 1.5 earned runs, maybe. He's gone under that in 4 of his last 5, but this is all about Hunter Brown for me. I love this kid. And the Astros bats certainly leave something to be desired, but they've been better at home than they've been on the road. And Nick Martinez on the bump for Cincinnati. He's had back-to-back serviceable starts, we'll call it, but he's still no match for Hunter Brown. The Astros typically need to put up at least 4 or 5 runs to beat you. They haven't been winning a lot of low-scoring affairs. If there's one exception to that, when Hunter Brown takes the ball, the Astros can get away with winning a low-scoring affair. So I'm going to take Houston to not bat in the bottom of the 9th. Martinez on the bump for Cincinnati feels like a good spot for the Stros to get the bats going on their home field. Minus 115 on that play. And then I'm going to take it home with the Dodgers money line. Also, minus 115, best price out there in town. You're looking at minus 130. By the way, I would still take it. Profit X, minus 115 was the last matched price in that peer-to-peer exchange market for the Dodgers money line at Arizona. First off, I love the angle of the Dodgers coming off a loss here, right? Losing game 1 in the series when they were pretty heavy favorites with Yamamoto on the bump. I think it's a big wake-up call, especially because Arizona has the advantage in terms of starting pitching matchups, 2 of the final 3 games here. This one, they don't. Sasaki's been really consistent lately. Had some rocky starts to kick off his career here in the States. Since then, he seems that he's settled in. He's composed himself better. And Eduardo Rodriguez, the Dodgers just see the ball coming out of his hands so well. 80 at-bats collectively against Erod. They've got a .330 average. You look at even how the lefties have hit him. Freeman, Ohtani, and Conforto, a combined 11 for 28 with a few home runs against Rodriguez. I love this bounce-back spot for the Dodgers. Again, minus 115 on the peer-to-peer exchange, minus 130 in town. I think that they're all bettable. Dodgers, money line, minus 115. That's my favorite bet for Friday's action on the Diamond. And don't forget, best bets, folks, are brought to you by our friends over at G-Bank. Get the G-Bank Visa Signature Card today. Most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions like cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. G-Bank treats gaming transactions like purchases, so you're saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees and gaming transactions right there. Also with G-Bank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions and 2% cashback rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSiN.com/GBank. And that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. Folks, great content here at VSiN never ends. After cashing out, VSiN by the books. Jensen Lewis and my buddy Keith Arizari filling in for America's hero Dave Ross, 7 a.m. Eastern. Followed by a numbers game with our friends Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then Money Moves, Stormy Bonantoni going straight from T-Mobile Arena back here to the booth. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific alongside JVT. Special thanks to our terrific team, producer Jared Moore, the rest of the squad on the other side of the glass, Johnny, Jaron, Svenhouse. Couldn't have done it without them. That does it for another terrific edition of Cashing Out. I'm Joe Ceraulo. We take a 69-hour break. See you Sunday.